Please rise for the national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Dylan. Dylan Bardelis is a member of the class of 2027, dual majoring in engineering physics and multidisciplinary voice. Please join me in giving him another big round of applause. I'm Karen Tolley, the Robert J. Vlasic Dean of Engineering. It is my tremendous honor to welcome you all to the Chrysler Center for the graduation ceremony of the undergraduate class of 2026. Congratulations on reaching this extraordinary milestone. Today marks the culmination of your undergraduate career at Michigan Engineering and the start of a life where you will shape, build, and lead in ways only you can do. When you first arrived on campus, many of you came from environments where your paths were structured by schedules, expectations, and others' guidance. And then suddenly, you were given choices: what to study, what to build, who to spend time with, and who to become. Over the past 4 or so years, you didn't just earn a degree, you experimented with your own life. You discovered what energizes you, what matters to you, and what kind of person you want to be. I saw this spirit through my interactions with student groups across campus. Over breakfasts, lab tours, and other talks, you shared your goals and your aspirations. But you also talked about something deeper: how to build a life, not just a resume. That balance, self-awareness, and resilience are as important as what you were taught inside the classrooms. I'd like to share one story that exemplifies this journey at Michigan Engineering. The story of the Michigan Aeronautical Science Association, or MASA. 2 years ago, during a critical hot fire test, their engine exploded. The explosion was due to a hard start, which is an ignition malfunction that led to an overpressurization of the chamber and catastrophic engine failure. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but it was a moment that could have ended the project. Instead, it became a turning point for the students involved. The team regrouped, redesigned, and built an even more advanced engine, which they named Phoenix, and returned to the Mojave Desert to test again. There, the new engine exceeded the team's expectations, proving Phoenix to be the most powerful, regeneratively cooled engine ever designed by a student team. This testing gave them the confidence to proceed with their next mission, launching their rocket, Limelight, in just 2 weeks. This story demonstrates the power of not just engineering, but also resilience, community, and learning who you are when things don't go as planned. Each of you has your own story, your own version of that story. Maybe it happened in a lab, on a team, in a dorm, or during an internship. Maybe it was a setback that forced you to rethink your path. Those moments shaped you. As you move forward, carry that with you. Stay curious about the world and about yourselves. Continue to seek out opportunities to ask questions and to grow. And build a full life, one grounded in purpose, not just productivity. The world needs engineers who are not only technically excellent, but thoughtful, resilient, and self-aware. And that is who you are becoming. Congratulations, class of 2026, go Blue. Now we're going to take a moment to recognize some of the other very special people who have played an important role in supporting you along your journey. Parents, grandparents, spouses, and other family members, would you please stand as you are able so that your graduates may thank you. I would also like to thank you for the support of our students. Another group we want to recognize, and this is an esteemed group of leaders who are here with us today, our fellow Michigan Engineering alumni. Would you please stand as you are able? It's an honor to have all of you with us today to celebrate our graduates. A tradition of the college's commencement ceremony is to hear from a student. This year's student speaker is Jacob Robbins. Jacob? He has a fan club. Jacob is graduating with a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering, supported by the Kenneth E. Posse Endowed Scholarship and Class of 1931E Scholarship. While at Michigan, Jacob worked as an emergency medical technician at the Huron Valley Ambulance, responding to 911 calls across Washtenaw County and training other student responders while leading Michigan's campus ambulance unit. He also spent 4 years as a researcher in the MIN lab and worked as a software engineer at Paramount on the ABC Sports Quality Assurance team. In the fall, Jacob will start medical school on a full tuition merit scholarship at Vanderbilt University, where he will continue Jacob will continue to explore the intersection between medicine and engineering. Jacob, please come forward.
Thank you, Dean Tolley, for that very kind introduction, and good afternoon. Welcome families, faculty, and most importantly, the class of 2026. My name is Jacob Robbins, and I'm honored to be this year's commencement speaker. We are finally here, completing our transition from college to the real world. Although we come from a diverse set of backgrounds, majors, and interests, we are all united by our passion for problem solving, analytical thinking, and the Pierpont Panda Express. I'm glad you laughed. Like many of you, I came to Michigan eager to solve the world's most difficult problems as an engineer. That lasted until I took my first differential equations exam. Even in my research lab, where we worked on cutting-edge solutions to prevent prosthetic implant infections, I spent hours learning different methods of dipping plastic into chemical baths, which is about as interesting as it sounds. After my freshman year, I started to doubt whether majoring in engineering was the right choice. I couldn't see how the material that I was learning would ever help anyone. I wanted to feel a direct impact on the lives of others, as opposed to abstract future possibilities. So I started working as an EMT, responding to 911 calls in the Ann Arbor area. At the time, I saw these as completely separate. Medicine was my passion, engineering was just coursework. However, that quickly changed. On one of my first shifts, my partner and I were called to help a patient suffering from sepsis, a life-threatening complication of a severe infection. I found the patient in her room, lying still on the bed, her chest faintly rising from her shallow breaths. Her husband sat by her side, holding her hand, trying to wake her up. There are evidence-based plans for treating patients who are this sick, which included rushing her to the hospital, breathing for her, and maintaining her blood pressure with IV fluids. However, there was no algorithm that prepared me to look her husband in the eyes and tell him that his wife was not just tired, but unconscious due to a worsening infection. There was no algorithm that prepared me for the weight of the woman's limp body as I lifted her onto the stretcher. This call changed how I think about engineering. In my research lab, the hours I spent dipping plastic suddenly meant something different. I was creating bacteria-killing coatings that could prevent future patients from experiencing complications from implant infections. In my senior design class, the lactate detector that my group is building isn't just a device that measures biomarkers. It's a tool that could help first responders detect sepsis earlier and get patients the care they need before they suffer life-altering consequences. Here's what I've learned. Engineering is more than the technology that we build. It's about the people we serve, not users or stakeholders or whatever term we use in our design reports, but real people. People who are scared, people who depend on what we make, people whose lives change because of our decisions. This extends far beyond medicine. Civil engineers. The bridge you design isn't just a structure optimized for load distribution, it's how a parent gets to work to provide for their family, or how a community stays connected during a flood. Computer science engineers. The software you create isn't just lines of code, it's how a small business manages their inventory, or how a student accesses their education. Chemical engineers. The process you optimize doesn't just create products, it makes the clean water that a family drinks every day, or the fuel that gets a deployed soldier back home. As we leave here today, we're walking into a world of increasingly intricate problems that need to be solved. We will have incredible opportunities to innovate, to push boundaries, to overcome obstacles that seem insurmountable. But we can't let the complexity of the problem make us forget the simplicity of the purpose. When we're focused on the technical details, we need to take a step back. Ask, who will use what we're building? Ask what happens when it fails. Ask if we're solving the right problem or just the interesting one. We also have access to more advanced technology than any previous generation, allowing us to improve human lives at an unprecedented scale. We will work alongside tools like artificial intelligence that can automate complex tasks with remarkable efficiency. but AI will never be able to take accountability for its actions or connect with the community. That responsibility can only be held by us. 2 years ago, I watched a husband hold his wife, powerless as sepsis shut down her body. Aside from getting her to the hospital as quickly as possible, I was powerless too. Her infection had progressed beyond what my training had prepared me for. But that moment taught me what engineering actually is. It's designing the coating that prevents the infection in the first place. It's building the detector that catches sepsis early enough to treat it. It's creating the technology that gives a husband more time with his wife. Engineering isn't about choosing between technical work and human impact. It's realizing that they are the same thing. So yes, keep solving differential equations, keep pursuing technical education, but also keep asking, who am I designing this for? As we leave here today, we aren't just engineers. We are people who have chosen to spend our careers in service of other people. That's what engineering is at its core. Everything else is just the method. Congratulations, class of 2026. Let's go build something that matters. Go Blue.
Thank you, Jacob, for sharing your story and for that very powerful reminder that our work matters most when it serves people. Great talk. Now, it is my honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Ronald D. McNeil. Ron is the former Fortune 100 President and Executive Vice President and co-founder and Chief Executive Officer of Great Ball of Light, Incorporated, which is an energy company that has developed groundbreaking capacitor technology. In 2002, Ron and his wife, Regina, founded the Ronald D. and Regina C. McNeil Foundation, Incorporated, which has endowments in athletics, the Marcel Family School of Education, the College of Engineering, and the Alumni Association. The foundation also administers 2 McNeil Scholarship Funds. Ron and Regina actively mentor leadership students, host dinners, and challenge young people to push outside their comfort zones. I've had the opportunity to witness Ron and Regina talking to students, and it's truly amazing, and they do a great job. Ron has also served on the college's Leadership Advisory Board, and I am grateful to him for his sage advice, ongoing advocacy, and steady drive to help create a greater good for everyone. Please help me welcome our keynote speaker, Ron McNeil.
Good afternoon. Well, good afternoon. Thanks, Dean Tolley, faculty, staff, alum, parents, family, and friends. We are all here to recognize you guys, the University of Michigan College of Engineering graduating class of 2026. We are enormously proud of you, so we can't stop applauding you, so please give yourself another round of applause. You are academic and athletic champions. You know, I'm excited to speak to you here at this grand institution, and I'm not an undergraduate alum. And when I look around, particularly at times like this, I get the feeling like I missed something. My wife will remind me that, firstly, you didn't apply. And secondly, you would have failed miserably as a traditional student. Ouch. It's not that I didn't value education. It's just that back then, I was far more interested in making money than I was attending class. It took me well over 5 years to complete my undergraduate degree, largely because I was working full-time during the day and going to school at night. But I stand before you today kind of as a wealthy guy, so mission accomplished. But more important, that is funny. But more importantly than that, the success has allowed us to enjoy such a wonderful partnership with this university. And what I have learned is that it is far more rewarding to share your wealth than it was to make it. Now, I grew up 45 miles east of here in Detroit. My Detroit of the 50s, 60s, and 70s was characterized by a robust economy, the big three automaker, and a highly thriving job market. The homeownership for blacks at that time was the highest in the nation from Detroit. We had the Motown sound, we had the original Temptations, that's the best male singing group ever. We also had Stevie Wonder, the Jackson 5, and some others. We had intact families, we had safe and strong neighborhoods, and we were taught to be respectful, particularly helping those who were in need and more fragile. It was kind of like do unto others as you would have them do unto you. We really thrived in that environment, and we began to learn the importance of serving the greater good. Now, I'm going to come back to the greater good in just a minute. But you know, growing up in Detroit, my father worked in the automobile factory plants for 42 years as a metal finisher. We called him a resourceful genius with a 6th grade education. My mother was a stay-at-home mom until I entered high school. She got her undergraduate degree in her 60s. So I come from a determined group of... Now, I got a lot of lessons. My father wanted to teach us how to be frugal. So what he would do is he would put plastic on everything to extend its life. He'd use cleaner's bags. Now, I don't need to be a material science engineer to tell you that cleaner's bags will tear very easily. Not to worry, my father met Scotch tape. You know, you would think that he would have abandoned this practice when one day he drove through a drugstore plate glass window when his foot left the brake and hit the gas. You guessed it, because he had plastic that belonged to the car mats. You know, I got a lot of stories. I had great memories growing up. I like to call it fondly the good old days. But you know, I gotta tell you, the headlines that you're reading and I'm reading that you're graduating into are different than the headlines that I graduated into. I'm sure you've heard them. It's this uncertain job market, right? This AI juggernaut that is dominating corporate strategy as well as all of the financials. Not to be outdone, you got political and geopolitical influences at work as well. All of these things conspire to get companies to be, at best, cautious and risk adverse, or at worst, downright stuck. But, and I'm not naive, I don't think you're that bad off, because I think you're better prepared to succeed in the marketplace. Why? First off, you came to Michigan, and you knew that you would emerge well-schooled from an elite faculty and staff. You also knew you'd complete rigorous majors in a top college of engineering in the world. Your perspective broadened from all of the things around you, your critical skills sharpened, and you began or continued to be a curious, lifelong learner. And most importantly, you embrace the DNA in engineering, and that's problem solving. Secondly, all of the market disruption and innovation is in your academic wheelhouse. You are not observers, you're players in that. Third, tech revolutions have tended to result in more opportunity, not less, although it gets really messy up front. So I'm confident that you've got the toolkit to succeed in this marketplace. But just as I feel very good about how you have prepared to succeed in this economy, you also need to be equally prepared to embrace a cultural environment that is unhealthy, I say, on many levels and in many ways. But here again, this is an environment that you can do something about. You know, earlier I mentioned the greater good. There is nothing magic about the greater good. Simply, you act in a way that moves yourself and others forward. It doesn't have to impact thousands of folks or millions of dollars. Let me give you just a couple of quick examples of how it impacted just one person, me. First off, my junior high school counselor insisted that my parents send me to Cass Technical High School, a nationally ranked selective institution. Didn't necessarily want to go, but the trajectory of my learning, my leadership development, my social skills took a hit. And it's where I met my wife. Another example, the 1967 Detroit riots. My cousin and I are out after curfew. We get caught. National Guard is taking us to the detention center with rifles at our back. As we're marching along, my cousin and I kind of both glanced up at the street we were passing. The guardsman said, "Is that where you live?" We said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, get your butts home." Now, I'm not so sure that would happen today, but it's all about people making decisions that benefit others without necessarily looking for some reward for themselves. Doing and serving the greater good is just that. It is, what do you believe? What do you know to be true? What do you know to be right? And what will you do about it? Let me give you just a few examples of elements that I think need to be in place for a greater good environment to thrive. What does leadership look like in a greater good environment? Leadership is honest. Leaders are honest. They're factual. They don't lie, and they build trust. They're curious and courageous. Leaders in a greater good environment are those that get others that they have the privilege of leading to a better place that they would not have gotten to without them. Leaders are also known to lead. It is more important how you lead in the dark than you do in the broad public lights. So be critical of those who lead you and also how you lead. Also in a greater good environment, how do we operate? Well, diverse opinions, inputs, thoughts, and people are valuable and strengthen the outcome in a greater good environment. Equitable treatment is the standard, and it's an environment where, yes, DEI is a way for us to win, not a way to divide us. Okay. And what does winning look like in a greater good environment? It is not how much more money I have in my pocket than the other guy. Money may be a measure of success. It is no way a measure of significance. Some of the things of most value to you are going to come from people that have more brains than money. How do we treat people in a greater good environment? We don't dehumanize them. We provide dignity and respect. We value their contribution, and we share. And it's an environment where midterms and finals are optional. But seriously, you guys are powerful. You're very, very powerful. We want to take your well-schooled skills and your evolving, well-educated passion and blend those together for you to become these global citizens who can impact and serve the greater good. It's difficult. It's never-ending. Some people say it's risk-taking. I don't think it is, but it certainly is rewarding. So let me end with a story of a young lady and how she chose to serve the greater good. Her name is Nyana, and Nyana was born with a neuromuscular disorder that caused her to spend much of her young life in hospitals and hooked up to machines. You know, the Make-A-Wish Foundation grants children the wish of a lifetime. They oftentimes want to go to Disneyland, Disney World, go on cruises, or places far away from those hospital beds. Well, on her 10th birthday, Nyana took her Make-A-Wish and created 600 packages for the University of Michigan Mott Children's Hospital. Those packages included fuzzy socks for the cold floor, a teddy bear to hold when times are tough, hair ties to keep your hair when you're having procedures or sometimes when you're unfortunately getting sick, gift cards, blankets, and the like. And finally, a letter addressed to the moms from one medical warrior to another. So guys and gals, make that choice like Niana. Make it great to be a Michigan Wolverine. Congratulations and go Blue.
Thank you, Ron, for sharing your thoughtful perspective and giving us the recipe for success to make a difference. We really appreciate it. At this time, I will call the names of the department and division chairs and representatives who will be greeting their students on stage. I also want to take this time to thank these faculty members for all their work in getting us to today. Leaders, please stand when I call your name and then be seated. From Aerospace Engineering, Carlos Sesnick and Joaquin Martins. From Biomedical Engineering, Doug Knoll and Elizabeth Mays. From Chemical Engineering, Delia Milliron and Nirala Singh. From Civil and Environmental Engineering, Yafung Yin and Jason McCormick. From Climate and Space Sciences and Engineering, Allison Steiner and Gretchen Keppel-Alix. From Computer Science and Engineering, Atul Prakash and Andrew Dorio. From Electrical and Computer Engineering, Dennis Sylvester and Peter Seiler. From Industrial and Operations Engineering, Julie Simons-Ivy and Albert Barajas. From Materials Science and Engineering, Elizabeth Holm and Ashwin Chauhani. From Mechanical Engineering, Ellen Aruda and Xiaogan Liang. From Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, David Dowling and David Singer. From Nuclear Engineering and Radiological Sciences, Xiaodong Sun and YZ. From Robotics, Dawn Tilbury and Leah Sterling. And from the college, Todd Allen, Associate Dean for Research, Minyan Liu, Associate Dean for Academic Affairs, Kevin Pipe, Associate Dean for Undergraduate Education, and Krista Wigginton, Associate Dean for Graduate and Professional Education. Thank you. All right, now it is time to get to the business at hand. I ask the ushers to direct our graduates to the stage in 2 lines. Each student marshal will lead their department to the stage by holding their department or program flag. It is tradition, as you cross the stage, to move your mortarboard tassel from the right side to the left side. So if you've got it wrong, fix it now. Then, please return to your seat and remain seated until the conclusion of our program. In the spirit of Michigan Engineering Unity, we want all departments and students to be recognized by the full audience we have here today. Now, would the candidates for the degrees offered by the Departments of Aerospace Engineering and Chemical Engineering please rise and approach the stage to begin the recognition of graduates.
Chemical Engineering.
Gabriel Tappan,
Aerospace Engineering.
Brady Wright,
Christopher Bean.
Darren Scheinberg,
Emmeline Martin,
Noah Vogel, Sarvika Rakesh Ram, Kyler McNatt, Anna Sukta, Fazle Rabbi Zaki, Sabrina Chun Yen Wong,
Ronald Dominguez Hernandez.
Leah Samakis,
Dennis Serbin,
Amy Liu. Russell Clark Jr. Leo Ellenson. Anthony Argyropoulos.
Shuyi Shu,
Luke Dykstra.
Giovanna Chaley,
Nile Dedia.
Claire Rogas,
Devansh Patel, Maggie Robbins,
Justin Hutchison.
Sydney Graytop, Reiner Becker, Angela Lee,
Alexander Komai.
Madison Mateer,
Diego Carlin. Jessica Hutchinson.
Andrew Painter, Alexandra Mantell, Ethan McCartney, Isaac Vuletic,
Hayden Heron.
Marshall McCaskey,
Caleb Erickson. Alyssa Fodale.
Sarah Waldman, Andre Orsu,
Elizabeth Evans. Brian Ho.
Gina Patel, Jude Way,
Atenea Chavez Contreras. Jesse Galvin.
Audrey Parker, Royce Zhu,
Ashley Aronson.
Yassine El Maligi,
Sarabi Christina Francis. Laura Belding.
Kai Reimers, Lauren Stanley,
Nathaniel Masheri,
Alexander Lurbas.
Henry Sprague,
Marielle Belza.
Isadora Sotero, Caitlin Spress, Ayush Pujara,
Audrey Hammer.
Rishi Shetty, Samuel Witt,
Yifei Liu.
Pranav Srinivas,
Emily Kurtz. Nicholas Hung. Osvaldo Almanza Villanueva. Charles Choi. Hannah Kerr.
Thomas Sheridan, Kate Eckert,
James Gold. Giselle Kassab.
Vincent Nee, Jacob Robbins, Martino Ryusuke Tanigaki,
Julia Lamy.
Santiago Ramos Assam, Emily Pollock,
Martin Fuentes Quinones, Sophie Copley,
Michael Chen.
Gabriella Post,
Christina Erskine. Julia Chaffin. Alyssa Cheslick. Lily Dawson. Jose Camino Cantu.
Lydia Fraz, Karis Hu,
Madeline Gonley.
Mackenzie Womack,
Thomas Lay.
Nora Murphy,
Ryan Lee.
Serena Beedawid,
Kaylin Hanna.
Lauren Abravanel,
Michelle Chung.
Reagan Watts.
Jiwoo Kim.
Grant Newhart.
Camila Amarista. Elizabeth Demick. Ethan Binns. Bridget Bruce.
Kidder Pratod Padalkar.
Thomas Garrett.
Vikas Sabnis. Preston Withen.
Merrick Lee.
Amy Van. Jonathan Wuchter.
Sergio Lopez.
Joshua Hindi. Beyonce Cruz.
Maximilian Hunzo.
Jason Heimbach. Hunter Brisbois. William Combs.
Ryan Mark. Shaunak Pallav. Alexander Seibel. Rahul Shirishkar.
Grady Corcoran. James Judge.
Ryan Richter. Marcos Mejia. Aiden Tenevsky. Timothy Pham.
Burke Beezer. Alejandro Lopez Cotrina.
Catherine Basel.
Luca Varanelli. Carly Shafransky.
Alberto Ayerza Ansaldo.
Letizia Cifuentes. Andrew Ward.
Solomon Gonzalez Draus.
Joshua Zirin. Connor Place.
Matilda Jasinski. Alek Kościelniak. Lania Brown. Amy Kang.
Lydia Steby.
Zakiah Ellis.
Rishika Mukherjee.
Chioma Akwarandu. Charles Kindelt.
Agenekome Otobo Egwebe. Samuel Opinski. Aaron Skillen. Brendan Murphy.
Materials Science and Engineering.
Arvin Yang.
Ciencia Aros Caballero.
Zachary Schaefer.
Matteo Carcassi.
Charles Drenick.
Shayut Shinawat.
Orion Pearson. Chase Walraven. TJ Melema.
Trevor Balduck.
Claudiana Rexhaj.
Guanyu Liu. Zari Bruch. Gilbert Chen.
Keith Lafreniere.
Janice Huang. Kurt Lin. Margot Helft. Logan Harold.
Elsa Nowak.
Andres Acosta.
Jessica Kaiser.
Cristina Becerra. Mia Frank. William Galsterer.
Sharon Song.
Natalie Malheros Casador.
Isabel Hopp.
Tyler Vandevord.
Alexis Cooper. Michael Carlson. Lillian Gregory. Javier Casella.
Tomas Peralta. Alexander Smith. Devin Maples.
Michael Peoples.
Pranavi Goody.
Nathan Witt.
Sasha Hill.
Abram Saucedo.
Emily Barks.
Matthew Alexander Sinanis.
Annalie Majewski.
Joel Sawyer.
Avello Cohen. Nakul Ganapathy. Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering.
Lucia Kovarik.
Lynn Tran. Will Franklin McIntosh.
Mason Gonzalez Voris. Vishal Damodaran. Alden Gort. Madison Johnston. Spencer Chapp. Christian Anderson. Morgan Connor.
Jordan Vermut.
Amy Fahmy.
Adam Tutunji. Scout Townsend.
Alina Bogwalker.
Andrew Pintar.
Dominic Bojanowski.
Aiden Schmidt.
Andrea Oak Gutierrez.
James Briel.
Dilshad Nahur.
Lucas Fenchuk.
Anna Tay Wan N.
Brendan Falkowski.
Joaquin Ray.
Jackson Lewis. Jack Gaylord.
Michael Otenbaker. Sarah Squadrito. Bridget Quayle. Ryan McAllister.
Carly Hansen. Siddharth Gupta.
Evan Siriani. Krishan Shah.
Civil and Environmental Engineering.
Jose Felipe Pedroso Botas.
Tushar Kapoor.
Benjamin Miller.
Sabrina Van Putten. Joseph O'Neill.
Meredith Gallagher.
Prudence Russell.
Cynthia Deneus.
Clara Liao.
Eamon Hamed.
Isabella Paparella.
Caleb Albright.
David Roshu. Matt Nurick. Kensington Richards.
Martha Ainsworth.
Joshua Tracy. Rachel Smith.
Desiree Kriskowski.
Zoe Smith.
Mary Halal. Ian Christensen.
Zippy Memon.
William Hong.
Jesse Young.
Mateo Subieta Lasarte.
Kara Colwich. Matthew Conley.
Neil Broida Befeller.
Anai Moitra.
Guillermo Corral Tobio.
Ayush Tokaria.
Jake Leopold.
Kareen Alvarez.
Ian Kim.
Alexa Martell.
Jack Brunel. Lucia Font. Liam Anderson. Noah Arsulowitz.
Matthew DeMillionaire.
Ayeyi Asamoah Manu.
Henry Christiansen.
Ayana Wu.
Isaiah Learman. Daniel Haskell II. Eric Chen. Avery Fields.
Liliana Nolta. Ella Palmer. Alexandra Towns.
Samantha Doer. Nicholas Lopez. Quincy Garrow. Kathleen Layton.
Delaney Schultheis. Michael Piacenti.
Natalie Garvey.
Noah Suttles. Emma Robledo. Michael Merkel.
Saul Garcia.
Jacob Swiderski.
Megan Gutierrez.
Molly Mings.
Ethan Clark. Ramona Cheng.
Owen Schwartz. Carter McKay,
Boden Chell,
Zaid Mohammed,
Alexander Green,
Nicholas Skyver,
Anthony Galan, Elizabeth Borg, Matthew Kroll,
Esther Murray,
Sabrina Hansen, Kristen Kwan,
Kelsey Renee Tarango Smith,
Corinne Spetnagel,
Marie Taylor, Jada Shine,
Tyler Fong,
Aaron Robinson,
Caitlin April, Margot Katz,
Edna Mohammed Saeed,
Tyler Klinkman, Climate and Space Sciences and Engineering, Caleb French, Sarah Feldman,
Nathaniel Stever,
Nolan Tribune,
Ethan Johnson, Julia Kirky,
Avery Sanchez,
Daniel Heilman, Jacob Drosky, Carson Clark, Manush Gopal, Colin Lavery, Jack Easterday, Robotics,
Weston Schroeder,
Sophia Khan,
Calvin Veith,
Artyom Boyarov,
Brianna Vandervelde,
Jichao Jiang, Liliana Salai,
Mei Yang,
Hannah Kiefner,
Riddick Ghosh,
Olivia Swike, Garrett Murbach,
Jacob Lyons,
Caitlin Roberts, Callie Streeter,
Mason Cox,
Katrina Walbridge,
Justin Boverhoff,
Lee Sun, Robert Rowe,
Elizabeth Meilinger,
Valerie Mora,
Kea Patel,
Ishwar Krishnan, Biomedical Engineering,
Benjamin Wedden, Simeon Williams II, Anna Novak, Bokar Sumare,
Erica Chen,
Drew Steffen,
Alexis Lee,
Logan Wilder,
Darren Kleeman,
Lexi Morrison,
Raphael Allison, Aaron Height, Nathan Gulliver,
Hui Yi Lin,
Gage Matt,
Brianna Gallegos,
Pavan Patel, Devin Payne,
Nathan Kuo,
Benjamin Pomianek,
Mason New,
Jonathan Duke, Audrey Armstrong, Madison Kayer,
Maya Wolf,
Daniel Thor Kellner Hallam,
Maxwell McCormick, Mariah Cheyenne Williams, Shirley O'Mara,
Amanda Amarada,
Nathaniel Valdez,
Shlok Batad,
Advait Balaji,
Alec Morel,
William Hazy,
Amin Macnogia, David Smith,
Pamela Bortelin, Mark Gibney,
Salika Safar, Jess Wu,
Abro Debnath, Clara Ballard,
Ian Paklik, Brendan Orr,
Evan Held, Kara Blashill, Chase Gibson. Casey Jiang.
Jian Toi.
Enran Lee. Madel Coronado Humbert.
Hannah Boyke.
Devin Jones.
Melissa Swikowski.
Aidan Deacon. Esther Gao.
Tate Collier.
Lydia Cruz.
Kimberly Gerwin. Sham Alaware.
Henry Vergoven.
Aditi Ganesan.
Sealing Lee. Harika Lingamarla. Ella Gergescu.
Naisha Fatke.
Lily Richards.
Alexandra Jack.
Elena Mann.
Lauren Fernando.
Matthew Prince.
Georgina Swartout.
Benjamin Taylor. Ella Schmidt. Pranav Vaya.
Gonzalo Anyosa Galvez. Joshua Chaco.
Shazad Sohail.
Ray Day.
Andrew Yu.
Vaibhav Gurunathan.
Angela Zhang.
Kirthi Mari. Terry Yu.
Felicia Song.
Sri Lakshmi Panikkar. Dakota Schwark.
Alyssa Budveg.
Nuclear Engineering and Radiological Sciences.
Brianna Canellis. Tyler Buvadas.
Matthew Bogoski.
Rhea Dawn Marasigan.
Hanya Farouk. Benjamin Loney Sealis.
Ishan Kandalwal. Sarabdeep Dhingra.
John Zhang.
Connor Middleton.
Jobin Guron.
Andrew Soto. Maximus Seacrest. Avery Poplinski. Julia Sarek.
Amanda Burton. Caroline Dean.
Naomi Rogers.
Phyllis Lynn.
Sabrina Vanyo.
Lili Iwailihua Kappa.
Chase Abel.
Savannah Joma.
Yuan Chang Shu.
Evelyn Cho. Jialene Lee.
Jansen Sullivan. Luke Tower.
Chelsea Kim.
David Wenger.
Jenna Ference Salo. Joshua Brochler.
Tasuku Albert Uraguchi. Nicholas Vandenbrink.
Jacques Harris.
Yuting Zhang. Leah Toledano.
Kyle Kuiper. Karina Bazak.
Tomas Bruno. Nola Ashcraft.
Jeannie Chi.
Evelyn Lee.
Isabella Greenman.
Jayashri Sundaram.
Industrial and Operations Engineering. Emily Dobau. Emily Ammerman.
Ramal Pillai.
Victoria Brown. Daris Durakovic.
Nitya Chiluri. Anna Cecilia Boonhay.
Maria Gomez Garcia.
Abigail Quint.
Joshua Gifford.
Joyce Caffey.
Hans Stringy.
Jonah Hurley.
Jiayi Elaine Pan.
Isabella Hodder.
Matthew Zwak.
Natalie Besh.
Claire Flaspoler.
Sarah McCarty.
Zachary Hutchings, Sheridan Balthazar, Daniel Heller,
Louisa Nierhoff.
Catherine Cyrick.
Hannah Johannes.
Andrew Diaz,
Jordan Isabel Sion Tarley.
Lillian Trudeau.
Charisma Marie Edouard,
Sebastian Wallace Perdomo. Michaela Petrosky.
Ashley Herrig,
Mason Teachman.
Victor Iyer,
Tavish Sharma.
Elsa Pater.
Jackson Glass, Anya Ekbote,
Joshua Ziegele.
Aubrey Hickmott,
Andrew Philippart.
Kylie Calvert,
Arushi Gungrade.
Kieran Raval.
Victoria Yan,
Parker Peterson.
Samantha Brosnick.
Caitlin Strasser.
Lacey Freeman, Paige Earer, Ria Chowdhury,
Samantha Megdanoff.
Ariella Wardakovsky.
Anjani Koneru, Amin Jazeri, Leela Jacob, Benjamin Aulicino,
Dia Yadapadithaya.
Georgina Branch,
Quinn Hine.
Matthew White.
Claudia Michiels.
Marissa Martinez.
Serena Desai, Juliana Phillip, Iman Dashti, Shannon Dame,
Haley Mydock. Evon Palumbo.
Anshul Somsale.
Jordan Casudo, Praniti Kokerada, Sophia Lustig, Alex Demate, Maria Khan,
Sebastian Padilla.
Mia Shen. Tien Xia. Mora Puro.
Charles Engelhart,
Sarah Keepers.
Valeria Marin Gallo.
Nicholas Litzes, Claire Beardsley, Benjamin Barron, Siyu Lee,
Nathan Madlambayan.
Yanlin Liu,
Luxiao Yu. Ida Marshall. Shi Young.
Maria Viviana Gonzalez de la Cruz,
Bega Chen.
Yash Bhatia,
Wenlan Wu. Cass Puchalski.
Caitlin Kasia.
William Birschbach, Kyra Hudson, Brandon Gerber, Morgan Allen,
Benjamin Schmeltz. Kevin Penna. Adam Singer.
Ricardo Garcia Zorba,
Cole Martin. Ethan Wang.
Mackenzie Gilroy,
Jinhua Sun.
Jordan Cook,
Yiwei Xia. Natalie Ryan. Haoxuan Zhang.
Jiarui Gao,
Allison Risha.
Do Liu, Electrical and Computer Engineering, Xingqiao Li,
Martin Page. June Sok Park.
Jacob Lepley, Anya Gupta,
Timothy Pohl.
Maitri Patel.
Eric Soderlund.
Ellen Huang,
Ahmed Saleh. Chongyi Wu.
Matthew Dahlman,
Adib Mahdiath,
Aryan Keeney, Sebastian Carmona Perez, Ethan Comini,
Joshua Mendoza,
Saad Al-Ratzi, Daniel Kim, Seth Hansen,
Amy Shu,
Junsang Lee,
Vaibhav Rameseshadri, Timothy Shu, Sophia Alexandra Perez Garcia,
Eric Barbieri,
Isabella Ross Duque Estrada.
Elliot Kupchik,
Leah Rich.
Ali Bazard,
Corina Belfort,
Brandon Stabnick,
Mariana Liu,
Vanch Patel,
Mariana Pardo.
Derek Yanchin Luo,
Armando Salazar,
Ryan Hong,
Mauro Vallejo Gonzalez,
Michael Kang, Alberto Falcon,
Musabbiha Zahir, Diego Vigil, Jason Pei,
Eduardo Alvarez,
Shruti Shah, Yanze Yu, Sanjit Vijay,
Jue Huang,
Vishnu Parthiban,
Wei Long, Antonio D'Alessandro, Shuo Yu Chen,
Aryan Patel,
James Deng, Felix Liu,
Aiden Roca.
Tina Ma, Eric Yoon,
Benjamin Gottlieb,
Joe Yu, Mark Vitoska, Ugona Okoronkwo,
John Cole, Ian Hairston,
Joseph Deeb, Giovanni Jones,
Dylan Crasto, Kenley Hall,
Nikhil Satpathy,
Toluni Gandhi Olauye,
Ethan Sela.
Gianna Williams, Michael Martucci,
Sarah Haycox,
Christine Yoon,
Riley Husted, Daniel Komp, Ji-Wan Lee, Mateo Caporuscio, Nicholas Alfonso,
Rachel Nowak, Marissa Witten,
Matthew Zabo.
Yining Tang,
Chinrei Zhang.
Yija Dai, Sunny Gang,
Jaron Schreffler, Yija Shen,
Jude Adarkwa, Jinlin Lee, Colleen Coelho,
Luke Weaver, Mary Meeder,
Yushuan Hu,
Sophie Miro, Shi Yin, Janie Perkins,
Shuai Xu.
Sierra Scott, Yue Pan,
Ruixiao Liu,
Aryan Singh, Kefon Ma,
Maisha Rahman. Jeremy Wang.
Lamisa Udin, Luke Tsai, Jillian Uy, Trent Mullen,
Patrick Gwinney,
Tyler Glynn, William Carey,
Nuri Shankar,
Braden Fuller,
Sneha Rakit.
Ethan George,
Medya Sundar.
Benjamin Cousineau,
Carolyn Liu. Adam Fisher.
Kishore Senthil Kumar. Jack Zayeski.
Sohyun Choi.
Ian Hauser. Layla Chehab. John Campanile.
Natalie Tinklenberg. Charles Niehaus. Hope Tecklin. Hanson Marshall.
Samantha Jayasindara.
Alex Casas.
Marika Battaglia.
Eden Ortiz. Alana Prop. Natalia Pearson Sayens. Audrey Wynn.
Trinity Briggs.
Thomas Tran.
Alexandria French.
Diego Ramirez Gomez. Megan Wu. Soham Patel.
Tanner Bermudez. Sean Dong. Daniel Kowalczyk.
Alexander Prather. Miguel Palacios Valero.
Zenovi Burko. Roy Atier.
Nicholas Sholak. Micah Yao. Cameron Sutherland.
Kylie Flynn. Joseph Bonnet.
Kennedy Neff. Mohammed Safawi. Cassidy C. Ali Mosalai. Param Nayar. Jeremy Timmer.
Audrey Archambault.
Victoria Viza.
Madison Lapine. Ava Hayes. Sarah Cummings.
Angela Tran.
Eliza Lustbader.
Jeffrey Jin.
Madeline Morrissey.
Ian Baker.
Nick Lynn.
Ronak Parikh.
Christina Leon. Naman Cabra. Lilia Arbuckle.
Charles Tate.
Lauren Green. Varun Agrawal. Mechanical Engineering.
Chia Yang. Hamed Mahmood.
Yinxiang Hao. An Yun Su. Stephen Lee. Dura Ozdi. Samantha Bishop.
Tenzin Sherab.
Chloe Acosta. Claire Garbowski.
Oliver Yanoshek.
Jason Beisel. Brandon Kiranen.
Anthony Young.
Declan Crowley.
Raj Tiller.
Stuart Brown. Jace Clark. Pierce Bedness.
Matthew Williams. Daniel Stack. Jake Patok.
Pedro Binotto Racchetti. Adrian Lucas Corey Rivera.
Trevor Pearl.
Nathan Puniamurthy.
Dallas Quaresma. Alexandro Ursu.
Anthony Spiro Balderas.
Zach Reinanen.
Sophia Foshkich.
Mohammed Sakin Norul Hassan Sahib.
Megan Kelly. Kusai Debubna.
Mohammed Murtada.
George Ortega.
Mohammed Aliasiri.
Wilson Merritt. Claudia Zacharias. Andre Quimper Osoris. Melissa Peters.
Haris Khan.
Anya Wazalensky.
Jad Habhab.
Genevieve Urbane. Jenny Shun. Ashley Ortenberg, Grant Wang,
Chong Li, Chu Han Tsai, Madeline Deming,
Cindy Yang,
Benjamin Berlowitz, Lauren Berry,
Simon Pichota, Devin Mignon,
Daniel Chen, Ella Lunseth,
Maxwell Rosales,
Ryan Levy,
Ronin Leong,
Andrew Spagnolo,
Weijia Xu,
Jamie Krankel, Ruedong Li, Takia Ali,
Emily Sukta, Yang Zhang,
Agustia Jayanthi, Jiarui Gu,
Deidre Prus,
Vina Bolipali, Christina Adams, David Gonzalez,
Aaron Jung, Gabrielle Coe,
Nathan Huang,
Liam Sweetman,
Luis Barcenas,
Siddharth Karthikeyan, Hanan Aziz,
Avanish Prasad, Emerald Taylor,
Run Shuang Guo,
Joel Batrai,
Runhan Wang, Guan Yu Shu,
Haobo Fang,
Martin Tosa,
Jia He Ding,
John Volscheid,
Tasia Kaduru,
David Mazalin, Amelia Valdez, Brogan Storer, Sophie Millhouse, William Waite,
Aisha Ahmed, Madeline Day,
Ava Manabat,
Kathleen Brown, Michelle Boisvert,
Ella Bilesma,
Carlos Alexis Garcia Lopez,
Madison Wright,
Alexander Bowler, Elise Applegate,
Sean Trujillo Jr.,
Edward Gamble, Joseph Leckie, Elise Collins,
Arian Tomare,
Lindsay Tyrell, Jacob Tukachik,
Alisa Dodono,
John Yu Tu, Sydney Tadovich,
Devin Conlon,
Lydia Allig,
Sandro Petrovsky,
Hendrik Nykamp,
Quinn Campbell,
Chelsea Harvey,
Austin Cierco,
Yuandi Huang,
Jose Lucas Micoletti Marino,
Justin Lin,
Shivom Merchant,
Florian Lautenschlager, Juan Pedro Fernandez Tineo,
Megan Vigneault,
Eric De Urso, Hyun Jun Ha, Priyam Alataris,
Isaac Robinson,
Safwan Khan,
Pedro Araujo,
Chase Lehman, Leo Allentoff,
Josephia Freidenborg,
Travis Cunningham,
Anthony Malafray,
Dale Newman, Samuel Morse,
Aaron Chirian,
John Reed,
Kushi Samal,
Michael Villeneuve,
Jade Friedless,
Elliot Measle,
Adriana Kelly,
Joel Martinez,
Alice Ivanitsky,
Cameron Trumpy,
Zachary Bonza Brody, Afif Jawad, Nicholas Blanchard,
Andrew Yee, Robert Stansfield, Benjamin Montgomery,
Peter Denk,
Sahil Sawant, Peter Messina, Jack Smith,
Annika Fuhrer,
Lana Sara,
Kabir Bhatia,
Anjali Mali Reddy,
Michael Hinson,
Tong Sing Woo,
Noah Beveridge,
Emma Sodden, Patrick McGowan,
Hannah Kim,
Grady Light,
Junchi Huang,
Ethan Lay,
James Schrupp, Peter Patrick,
Weston James,
Winston Wong, Brendan McGlinchey, Peyton McCaslin, Ling Xiao Yang,
Samantha Nicole Lorzano,
Owen Su, Vanessa Patino, Cindy Yang, Elijah Peters, Priska Yim,
Liam Beckler,
Farhat Yilmaz,
Mekai Phillips Rincher, Nazneen Poonawalla,
Chloe Akombi,
Vivian Lin,
Zachary Small, Catherine Shee,
Connor Quinn Gilfillan,
Emilia Shreyezb, Zaib Sadiq,
Isabella Longo, William Fetzko, Dora Kuflu, Adam Biss,
Lena Trang, Anuj Raghavan,
Summer Parisi,
Caden Nathani, Jennifer Wang,
Dominic Putti,
Jin Zhou, Alexander Putti,
Shoksuan Liu, Leonardo Guillen,
Rohit Ramaswamy,
Ian Carter,
James Spielman, Ziu Su,
Vishal Dattatreya, Wen Yue Lee, Eli Goretta, Nell Hassler,
Garrett Van Ogden,
Sasha Lee,
Galen Mui,
Tianhua Zhu, Youssef Maita,
Amardeep Dhingra, Andreas Demore, Omer Khan, Chen Rui Gao,
Jackson Wren,
Hongjeng Hu, Nyla Garcia, Abigail Kremers, Sam Bloom,
Mohammed Ali Sowaden,
Vanessa Costis, Rui Jiang,
Paula Martinez, Abraham Vega,
Ana Melissa Agustin Mazariegos, Hyungjun Kim,
Kevin Matthews,
Lawrence Han, Peter Florence, Pirachet Itiravi Vong, Nick Ferguson, Gary Siputra,
Alexa Ramirez Greenwood,
Yijie Liao, Colin George,
Corey Don Wetstein,
Griffin Reese Coolidge, Computer Science and Engineering,
Ryan McLean,
Gabriela Lopez Salgado,
Andrew Schaefer,
London Jefferson, Isaac Bachman,
Kevin Kalopicius,
Fernando de Torres,
Rafe Simons,
Dan Fenton,
Alexander Smart, Griffin Persales,
Ryan Liao,
Jay Starosia,
Qingyuan Shen,
Asia Ramunan.
Julen Cavazos Arce,
Mateo Jimenez,
Ethan Hardy, Abraham Bazi, Maya Ektana, Veronica Jude,
Henry Veal, Malik Tekin, Chase Tremaine, Shika Nukala, Anthony Torres,
Amulia Gundlapalli,
Allison Dobbins, Colin Johnson, Hannah Bernardi,
Arthur Yang, Esben Nielsen,
Thamim Hussein, Matthew Gibson,
Aryan Mystery.
Carter Martin, Jay Xiao,
Benjamin Andelman,
Avinash Seraph,
Vincent Bourgeois, Gabriel Khoury, Ryan Applegate,
Jawad Al-Salani, Gabriel Lamy,
Glenn Warren, Ethan Rose, Jehan Patel,
Cameron Adams, Colin Sarnick, Vincenzo Ciarelli,
Ethan McIntyre, Spencer Wong, Rajdeep Mukherjee,
Caden June, Allison Lee, Matthew Kim,
Michael Rivera,
Yuan Asenov,
Daniel Wong, Nathaniel Zhou Zhao,
Eric Dorman, Victor Lewis,
Andy Yao, Abi Rapala,
Amy Lee, Ranald Lamb,
Sage Ullman,
David Liu, Caitlin Ha, Emma Kaipainen, Winston Lee,
Megan Backer,
Donald Higgins, Madeline Hoffines,
David Jukovsky, Alicia Patel, Joseph Marcotte,
Kais Zalmut.
Rakshak Shah,
Kihang Chen,
Maxwell Homer, Leo Chuang,
Anthony Ten,
Joshua Bruno,
Oshni Potaneni.
Samia Morshed, Pravina Mohanraj,
Mina Nasiri.
Emma Linhart, Mireya Aurora,
Lorraine Q, Kian Montazeri,
Jaden Lin, Jerry Huang, Adam Cole,
Zishuan Zhu.
Michael Edwards,
Han Zheng,
Han Byun, Luke Avery,
Drishti Shrivastava.
Amog Bolapali, Madeline Hong,
Owen Willoughby, Vasu Ramanujam,
Joe Vicente Alinkar,
Risha Narayanan.
Catherine Rogers,
Netra Jayagopal,
Anna Larson, Maya Kusalovich, Brady Bush, Justin Cha, Benjamin Bickle, John Abraham,
Lucas Redding Sunol,
Matthew Gothrop,
William Stein,
Sparsh Bahadur, Philip Crum,
Arnav Shah,
Jonathan Fay, Jonathan Duredla,
Yushi Chen,
Anwesha Patak,
Sham Bachu,
Basem El Tawil,
Jerry Mao,
Amr Hussein,
Wei Xuan Zhang,
Zachary Kerhulas, Jose Franco, Ethan Justice,
William Stars IV,
Raj Tucker, Saicharan Vemarie, Swasik Ramaneni,
Nova Berman,
Abhijit Sudhir, Eric Pananen, Ethan McKean, Richard Tsai, Alban Wu, Matthew Wang, Ishan Malhotra,
Roy Simoni,
Trisha Maturi,
Matthew Gia,
Caitlin Yee,
Kevin Gia, Isabel Baker,
Jason Shi, Facundo Yen,
Abiesolome Asefa,
Judith Wu, Akanksha Omrai,
Alexander Farmer, Ishika Gupta,
James Song,
Jun Kit Lim, Shinze John,
Yencheng Poon, Yusheng Zhou, Duke Vu, Rithvik Vanga,
Abhishek Dahad,
Jay Staroja,
Juliana Beecham,
Matthew Sun, Gavin McGinnis,
Christopher Zhou,
Benjamin Houston, Jack Lee,
Ian Chowdhury,
Jack Gaffney,
Nabil Zahir, Abby Schultz,
Muskan Mittal,
Kia Zadeh, Tiffany Zhou, Youngrui Meng,
Swapan Gudaru,
Xingyu Wang,
Ishu Kansal, Adam Boxwala, Lorenzo Lupano,
Ahmed Al-Mashal,
Omer Ides,
Sharyavir Nerval,
Juliana Longo,
Akshit Pulgam,
Meghana Parchuri,
Gabriel Mora, Rishetha Taluri, David Wren,
Aidan Donley,
Ashi Mishra,
Dhruv Kapoor,
Andy Pan,
Andrew Casper,
Noah Del Valle,
Tausif Rahman, Rohan Raju,
Juliana Santillan,
Christopher Lima Viana, Jiyawan Lee,
Niurka Kirarte, Runchio Wang,
Vivan Singhvi,
Ahmed Taj,
Carter Bankowski,
Naufal Raza,
Alexander Devine,
Niam Madapa,
Hoaidian Ho,
Evan Wang, Jerusha Manoj,
Dave Patel,
Isabella De Sosa,
Anai Modi, Jenny Nee,
Karthik Tilak,
Natalie Ramirez Sanglade,
Isabel Donahue, Pranav Kupuswamy, Isabella Chitaro,
Daniel Vega,
Tisha Jain, Rishab Chandel,
Samuel Shadid,
Brian Schneider,
Aryan Agarwal, Ibositala Ife Ahigbe,
Nicholas Matthew,
Evan Burhani, Satya Kare, Tianjian He, Amir Amer,
Ethan Schnathorst,
Arlene Chima,
Benjamin Walter, Prableen Pawar, Yutong Wu,
Anvita Golu,
Jingkun Zhao, Arushi Singh, Kirthi Reddy Yadavalli, Charles Weiss, Julia Tauro,
Armand Gago,
Mira Manek,
Ajay Mohanraj, Nishita Shah, Kunal Shinde, Dishita Shetty,
Alex Kocheril, Irene Kai, Saeed Ahnaf,
Unch Suryawanshi,
Joel Estrada,
Luca Rizzo, Runting Jang, Luke Weaver, Qianwei Jang, Miles Samaniego, Shinyi Ju,
Shayla Doan,
Noah Smith, Timothy Wang,
Yiming Wang,
Dhruv Bhagavatula,
Wenshi Tsai,
John Sauer, Jiongyi Zhao, Lena Perry,
Xiaoyang Jin,
Fionnuala McKercher, Wei Wang,
Joanne Huh, Siyuan Lee,
Sam Winefield,
Jali,
Julie Mai Tai, Rui Kai Young, Joshua Wing Ya Tang, Jenny Nam, Matt Shu,
He In Lee,
Wonsik Jung,
Joshua Huang, Charlie Hertz,
Jane Wei, Alexander Rosnowski, Connor Tivadar, Eleanor Wu,
Aaron Cho,
Haoxuan Zhang,
Shri Ashrit Dugarala,
Rowan Hagee,
Sachit Kulkarni,
Noah Stein,
Huda El-Bazal,
Kai Sheng,
Aya Shaheen,
Alexander Yen, Huawin Shen,
Kayla Lang,
Hao Zhang,
Justin Lowe,
Dujia Ju,
Aiden Kim,
Songhan Wu, Leo Udell, Uechi Ren,
Hailin Jung,
David Shu, Ayusha Subedi,
Mehdi Zaidi, Sanjana Yadav,
Mohammedusin Najaf, Audrey Wong,
Naman Siddiqui,
Maitri Shah,
Mohid Durrani,
Dechen Sherpa, Ahmad Sheikh Khalil,
Gloria Xie, Omer Junidi,
David Wang, Hauran Jang,
Toby Buckfire, Yunwoo Chang, Evan Heckman,
Yile Yuen,
Dylan Hutchison,
Rushne Hassan,
Eren Buyukboskirli,
Joshua Weingarten,
Estelle Duguay,
Matthew Nespoli,
Ryan Millam,
James Landers,
Sophia Nelcha, Ashwanth Vijayan,
Monica Berend, Sean Dantas, Noah Givner,
Jake Zur, Yusef Dulkarnain, Pranav Varshni, Sudeepti Rao, Jajhen Wang,
Oliver Camp,
Chung Cho,
Melinda Jia Ying Chong,
Keng E. Jang, Sodhanva Pulvender, Jirong Young,
Zachary Dunn, Rachel Ding, Alvin Hatcher, Carmen Hernandez, Yikunding,
Jerry Chow,
Konlong Jiang,
Yilin Chen, Huanchen Jia,
Tanishka Nalaude,
Daniel Liu,
Anna Mestri,
Mateo Membreno, Ali Yuen, Thomas Palermo, Hyunjun Park, Winston Wu,
Trevor Gergix, Ryan Jacob,
Ayamin Goenka,
Benjamin Cohen,
Mackenzie Murphy, Andrew Yang,
Allison Franklin, Anthony Cho, Zifei Bai,
Ovidio Marina,
Krish Kapoor,
Jerry Yishang Xia, Ziyi Wang, Yuxian Zhang,
Sophie Lee,
Tevin Thomas,
Joy Lee, Alex Abraham,
Hoang Ngok Min Win,
Evan Chichak,
Liufei Meng,
Rishabh J. Raman,
Rahul Govil,
Eli Wickman,
Ryan Kirby,
Leon Wang,
Jiangpeng Lee,
Dhruva Paul,
Claire Hansen,
Christina Wynn,
Allison Sway,
Kadi Lee,
Sri Ram Malarvili Kumaran,
Vin Tran,
Roy Huang,
Henry Dye,
Amy Wei, Daniel Rudnick,
Shravani Dash,
Anurav Kareddy, Harish Jaisankar,
Levi Straczewski,
Riona Chowdhury,
Simone Fletcher, Scott Gilbert, Emily Lan,
Emma Ganji, Cameron Erkey,
Courtney Sell,
Ting Chi Liu,
Parker Jensen,
Dylan Morell,
Jirachaya Asadathorn,
Rutvik Parikh, Putipa Serefip, Colby Watson, Andrew Shao,
Tianyi Wang,
Bala Srivatsov Yeramili, Alana Q,
Akshat Arya, Brian Shu, Mudit Johar, Gun Kim, Xinyang Li, Yulong Huang, Huang Tianlin, Thomas Kasserly, Aidan Bachi, Ishani Das,
Nathaniel Liu Metke,
Rohan Bafna,
Isha Nair,
William Dugan.
Scott Chung,
Ike Solinsky, John Rogan, Sarah Worth,
Jake Fallon,
John Sater, Elvis Jang, Justin Smith,
Daniel Huang, Nuria Khan, Dean Afifi, Jeffrey Chen, Jonathan Kim, Yinan Dong,
Kavya Narayan,
Xinqi Zhang,
Joyce Koo,
Haotian Zhang,
Ethan Chen, Lian Doan,
Dylan Tsai.
Himari Tamura,
Frank Fang,
Jerry Wang, Adarsh Patapa,
Adav Rajesh,
Aditya Abaraju,
Derek Yang,
Mariana Ceballos Kokoreva,
Felix Tang,
Hadi Hamid,
Rishikesh Bagelcoat.
Hadi El Ghul,
Jad Alawi Fadili.
Jess Morton,
Isha Gosalia,
Mahdi Rizk, Sara Sharma,
Ali Ayub.
Srijan Deb, Ali Hamoud, Anvesh Agrawal,
Brian Roberts, Sunny Shu, Jawad Najjar,
Matthew Dowling,
Siddharth Uman Kalra.
Shiv Govil,
Lance Busher.
Aidan Chinakro, Vicky Lynn, Jacob Lifshay, Kulan Janchev,
Vanessa Cha.
Ihsan Yasin, Isaac Tian,
Omar Abdullah, Seth Blake, S.C. Klein,
Shub Dubey.
Marcella Houston,
Ayush Patel,
Julia Corcho Veloso,
Aditya Patel,
Evelyn Lee,
Kush Patel, Lorena Sierra Reyes,
Eshwar Kanaka Sabai,
Ariba Momen,
Nya Chileong,
Nikhil Sati,
Kushi Kundur, Jack Gurecki,
Prachi Mahapatra,
Justin Chu, Mahitha Karnati, Ivan Lee,
Mark Rosenberg,
Mish Jude,
Kennedy McCarthy,
Nikita Yarapatineni,
Benjamin Duenas.
Alexander Nee, Hubert Jang,
Brian Lee, Benjamin Kurniowan,
Vivek Santapur,
Minkyu John,
Nikhil Goli.
Roshan Kawaguchi Sadhu, Nikita Murthy, Muhammad Rauf,
Sidesh Devaraj.
Angela Lee,
Rohan Patel,
Amelia Wing,
Tiernan Jezrani, Taylor Lane, Sergei Kislenkov,
Alex Zhang,
Shreyan Purwar,
Shrisha Bolu,
Rohan Tolani,
Sophia Basmaji,
Alexander Wang,
Shreya Bidala, Samuel Kaminsky,
Selena Sun,
Sydney Liang,
Allison Martin,
Grace Coppola,
Dia Hituvali,
Jade Meister, Tanisha Panchal,
Eliana Doherty, Ihan Lay,
Sophie Voss,
Sumeda Kanumuri, Sungwon Chung, Aditi Lokala,
Vibha Pedi,
Arya Gowda, Raga Dandavolu,
Shreya Sri Prakash,
Naina Nagar,
Abhay Sharma,
Sanya Chavla, Keshav Bhagat,
Anika Akali,
Shihwan Song,
Archana Chandran,
Pavesh Vuyuru,
Kalp Patel,
Aryan Pal,
Imtihan Chaudhary, Angshu Adya,
Zayan Mohammed,
Philip Churchley,
Cameron Danish Yar, Naman Jain,
Aditya Sesham, Abhinav Suresh,
Siddharth Kundam,
Keith Rasul,
Mariam Alavi, Tab Hashmi,
Elena Wright,
Owen Davis, Brendan Barnes, Meow Meow Dai, Ifan Bu,
Nathaniel
Wen
Baird.
Sher, Evan Teal, Gigi Pan,
Aidan Bell,
Cheyenne Sinha,
Rodrigo Jimenez, Joshua Lim, Tyler Andrew Kovacha,
Neha Sanchetti, Adrian Lex Vergara,
Jisung An,
Sophie Jo,
Mingfei Dong, Sam Desai, Unch Dave, Cyrus Desai, Camila Casado,
Madhu Ramkumar,
Colin Gordon,
Vedika Narla,
Eitan Ben Shetrit, Sumeda Komaraju,
Alec Meyer,
Julianne Hood, Ty Kennedy, Alvin Jiang, Amy Lee,
Adam Wood, Amy Peng,
Christian Chen, Yuancheng, Daniel Lian,
Surey Chen,
Rami Taufeli,
Tsutsong Chang,
Sean Halliman, Max Han,
Clarence Mao, Yi Fei Peng,
Ian Nair,
Kenning Zhao,
Himanish Kohli,
Zhenqi Wang,
Lily Collins,
Andrew Perez,
Sabrina Shue,
Andres Trujillo,
Helen Liang, Miles Fichtner, Avi Bhattacharya, Lucas Di Giuseppe,
Daniel Yang,
Jordan Infeld,
Xavier Denellen,
Luke Welton,
Rahul Haq,
Lai Olusanya,
Abel Koshi. Samuel Halliday.
Arnav Unadkat.
Marcin Ugolnik.
Sujay Mehta.
Tejas Dumpeta.
Garv Patel.
Soham Pavaskar. Ethan Mui.
Rishabh Gupta.
Dhruv Digraskar.
Shaolan Zhou.
Albert Wong.
Satvik Kapoor.
Anthony Varkey.
Robin Huang.
Eric Zhao. Kylie Westman. Peter Schwendeman.
Zahabia Rashid.
Justin Fiorillo.
Jamila Nagarwala.
Peter Krosoliak.
Ana Ronquillo Hernandez.
Calvin Condon. Hannah Ahmed.
Tucker Patterson.
Aditya Ashok.
Jirui Jiang.
Nor Danish Imran Nor Hisham.
Stephen Lan. One Alif Zafri bin One Azmi.
Tyler Yee.
James Choi. Jonathan Chen.
Dom Ross.
David Wu.
Eric Galani.
Connor Yang.
Antonio Colon.
Smayan Ranjan.
Herman Bauer Montalvo.
Ruthesh Thavamani. James Tian.
Amy Joe.
Weila Zhang.
Brendan Forward.
Sierra Cade.
Katie Vu.
Chinyere Amaziatu.
Aditya Sinha.
Alexis Harris. Tanish Kalwad. Aryan Pargava. Marvin Jirapong Suan.
Jonathan Wolinski.
Hao Young Liu. Saad Babar.
Cooper Say.
Hamza Ali.
Zain Zai.
Sagar Bola.
Brian Travis. Andrew Yang.
Anton Petushkov.
Brandon Nee. Shrey Roy.
Daniel Jakubowski.
Elida Sensoy.
Gianmarco Iperagire.
Evan Shea.
Shiva Chandran.
Flora Deng.
Jonathan Roosevelt. Amy Wu.
Gabriel Gottlob.
Manvita Mogalayapalli.
William Kuchenbuch. Varnika Chandra.
Mason Miller.
Kristen Creer.
Kevin Shu.
Nikai Nixon.
Anant Garg.
Christine Regan.
Lance Fucci.
Alex Yang.
Aderola Owaduge.
Ria Sharma.
Pranav Joshi. Shreya Kankatala.
Adrian Nan. Johan Sigai.
Jessica Zhang.
Jack Wolohan.
Fonnie Raskind.
Lily Bourgeois. Carson Kylitz. Navia Kumar.
Pooja Vinukonda. Braxton Orban.
Angelina Fan. Andrew Brown.
Sophia Tsao.
Catherine Nichols.
Sada Sadi.
Bata Aksoy.
Yaire Lopez Quiroz.
Samir Singh, Claudia Reyes, Bradley Steinfeld, Tanvi Naik,
Colin Harris.
Timothy Smith,
Preston Jackson. Javier Bonilla. Kaylin Lynn.
Calliope Triantafilu.
Isabel Yo, Georgia Stewart,
Tiffany Cheng.
Catherine Podolin,
Josephine Billinger.
Bianca Bree. Nicole Cornell Lima. Sanjana Kulkarni.
Samantha Ritter, Afaf Mustafa, Megha Sharma, Dennis Yang, Isabella Shaya, Yuchen Wang,
TJ Neuenfeld.
Kenneth Zhu,
Benjamin Antono. Time Kumthampanij. Jack Lily Yarrington.
Chawit Vongsuli,
Miriam Eladon. Stacy Chen.
Anik Mumsen,
Amy Wong.
Bobby Palmer, Con Win,
Lauren Hayun Kim. Victor Lee.
Arifur Rahman,
Martine Steer.
Poyraz Guzel.
Lucas Rosenberg, Daniel Niculescu, Ismael Angel Medina, Akrista Tapa Chetri,
Andrew Bush. Jared Diaz.
Thisha Mukherjee.
Amelia Mikas.
Shriman Maineni, Anthony Van Leen,
Batu Engen.
Gordon Eng,
Mihir Kelker.
Kane Gonzalez. Jimmy Dye. Obida Iqbal.
Anish Reddy, Chidera Okigbo,
Joshua Xie.
Jonas Graining.
Mihir Vador, Benjamin Newmeyer, Jeffrey Wu,
Jonathan Dunn. Pranay Gupta. Charles Wang. Priya Gutta. Sana Eliminati. Amy Jun.
Meher Kumar.
Chris Lee. Yuqiang Cao. Joshua Che. Yuandi Huang.
Joseph Yi,
Daniel Jang. Anirudh Karnam.
Emily Ma,
Tianshin Jessica Lee. Mon Gupta.
Joshua Wang.
Navdeep Sirigiri,
Yishan Lin.
Andrew Wang,
Woongjin Zhang. Brian Caballo.
Suhas Ravella, Meng Shi, Anurag Tilway,
Shiyu Kai.
Kush Patel,
Xianwen Luo. Yash Dumpeta. Shinga Lee.
Mishan Gagnon.
Yi Jenny Lee.
Nikit Surapaneni,
Arinjoy AJ Das.
Garrett Miller,
Yuanzhe Wang. Manan Mendirata.
Xiao Jun Yoon.
a phenomenal 2026 class. Congratulations again. Amazing. Graduates, you are now part of the most accomplished groups of engineers, the Michigan Engineering Alumni. Always wear your maize and blue proudly. Now let's stand to sing together The Victors. All right, to conclude our event, Dylan will lead us in singing the university's alma mater, the Yellow and Blue. In case you haven't learned the words in 4 years, you will find the words on the screen at the center of the arena. After the song, please remain in your seats until the platform party has left the floor. Then pause, then please use all exits when leaving the Chrysler Center. And finally, on behalf of the Board of Regents of the University of Michigan, congratulations to the class of 2026, and go Blue!
Coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine. Gotta be down because I want it all. It started out with a kiss, how did it end up like this? It was only a kiss, it was only a kiss. Now I'm falling asleep and she's calling a cab while he's having a smoke and she's taking a drag. Now they're going to bed and my stomach is sick and it's all in my head, but she's touching his chest. Now he takes off her dress. Now let me go. And I just can't look, it's killing me. And taking control. Jealousy, turning saints into the sea. Swimming through sick lullabies, choking on your alibis. But it's just the price I pay. Destiny is calling me. Open up my eager eyes, 'cause I missed the bright side. I'm coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine. Gotta be down because I want it all. It started out with a kiss, how did it end up like this? It was only a kiss, it was only a kiss. Now I'm falling asleep and she's calling a cab while he's having a smoke and she's taking a drag. Now they're going to bed and my stomach is sick and it's all in my head, but she's touching his chest. Now he takes off her dress. Now let me go. 'Cause I just can't look, it's killing me. And taking control. Jealousy, turning saints into the sea. Swimming through sick lullabies, choking on your alibis. But it's just the price I pay. Destiny is calling me. Open up my eager eyes, 'cause I missed the bright side.
For a while there it was rough, but lately I've been doing better.